Hello. Man United already plotting move to replace Amorim with six-time Serie A winner. After a matter of months, Ineos are already reportedly plotting to cut Ruben Amorim's Manchester United reign short by hiring a veteran replacement who's won as many as 6 Serie A titles. Welcome to our new edition of News from Manchester United newsletter. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Man United already eyeing Amorim replacement. When looking back at the last year of Ineos' decisions, it's clear that they haven't exactly helped to drag Manchester United out of the position they currently find themselves in. First and foremost, they rewarded Erik ten Hag with a new contract after much deliberation. They decided that FA Cup glory was enough to make the Dutchman their man despite all the Premier League failure that came before. What came next felt inevitable. Even after a summer of investment which saw the likes of Lenny Yoro, Joshua Zirkzee and Matthijs de Ligt arrive, it quickly became apparent that United's FA Cup victory was an off day for Manchester City rather than the beginning of a renaissance, and Ten Hag was soon sacked as a result. He wasn't the only one shown the door either, and at a price. Soon following the manager was Dan Ashworth, who was shown the door just months after Ineos chased to secure the sporting director's arrival from Newcastle United. In between those two departures, however, it looked as though Sir Jim Ratcliffe had made his first positive call by hiring Amorim. The Sporting Club boss was a young, successful manager who had just thrashed Pep Guardiola's City side. It simply had to be the right call. Alas, even as the curse of Sir Alex Ferguson's throne looked destined to end, that has proved far from the case. 4 months on from taking hold of the poison chalice, Amorim has picked up just 5 Premier League wins in 16 games to leave United in the bottom half and leave Ineos wondering whether it's time to make another expensive decision. Now, according to reports in Spain, Ineos and Manchester United are plotting a move to hire Massimiliano Allegri and hand the Italian his first job since his departure from Juventus at the end of last season. In a move that would swap the young for the experienced, Allegri doesn't need much of an introduction. His Serie A legacy speaks for itself. Winning the famous Scudetto 6 times, with 5 of those wins coming at Juventus and the other coming at AC Milan, Allegri is an undeniable winner who perhaps has the know-how which Amorim lacks at this stage of his career. Whether the 57-year-old would finally solve United's problems is another question entirely, however. Just like Amorim, Allegri's preferred 3-5-2 system features wingbacks rather than wingers, which would hand the Red Devils the same issue they currently face with a squad full of players unable to fit into a back five. It could also be argued that Allegri is past the peak of his managerial powers. Whilst the Italian does have 6 Serie A titles to his name, the last of those 6 came in the 2018-19 season, highlighting his struggles to take hold of Italian football in recent years. Sir Jim Ratcliffe facing concrete deadline for £548 million payout. It's the biggest problem Man United have. Debt isn't a dirty word in finance. The opposite, in fact. Good debt fuels growth and, in theory, makes everyone a winner. But at Manchester United, the banks and the Glazers are the only ones winning. The family's leveraged buyout of United in 2005 loaded the club with £604 million worth of debt. It was hoped that 2012's New York Stock Exchange listing would ease the burden, but it barely made a dent. As it happens, the Glazers pocketed around half of the proceeds from initial public offering in the United States. And in March 2025, United's gross debt is £731.5 million. That's £127 million more than 2005. Okay, the real terms value of the debt has fallen when adjusted for inflation. But the Red Devils have paid over £750 million in interest since the takeover, wiping out the difference and then some. But so what? United are only paying around £30 million per year in interest, compared to club record revenues of £662 million in 2023-24. Chump change, right? For a club in better financial nick, maybe. Tottenham, for example, earn less than United and pay a similar amount in annual interest. But unlike Spurs, United don't have a money-printing stadium to show for it. What's more, Spurs aren't hemorrhaging cash. In terms of cost control, the two clubs have been poles apart in recent seasons, in contrast to their proximity to one another in the Premier League table. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is attempting to curb that, although his methods, mass staff cuts, removal of basic perks, and reducing charity and community spending, have crossed a line between efficiency and ruthlessness. Ineos, who own 29% of United's equity but have been handed operational control by the Glazers, have been equally brutal in their campaign to boost revenue to service the debt. Ineos have increased ticket prices at Old Trafford and, in line with a worrying trend across the English top flight, are scaling concessionary pricing for juniors and seniors. Meanwhile, the Premier League's decision to retain profit and sustainability rules, PSR, for at least one more season means United's interest payments will continue to eat into Ruben Amorim's budget. Incidentally, UIF understands that Crystal Palace, not United, were the only team to vote against the retention of PSR and the delay of a UEFA-style squad cost rule. Although, that may simply have been hurting in the face of the inevitable at the recent Premier League shareholder meeting in London where the vote was held. Either way, Ineos have their work cut out juggling United's financial situation with the mess they have inherited in the football department. But, as Liverpool University football finance lecturer and industry insider Kieran Maguire has explained in exclusive conversation with UIF, things could get worse before they get better. Man United's debt costs set to soar ahead of 2027 cut-off, says Kieran Maguire. Of United's £731.5 million debt, the breakdown is as follows. Senior secured notes, £337.6 million. Secured term loan facility, £178.1 million. Revolving credit facilities, £210 million. Accrued interest, £5.7 million. The senior secured notes, mostly bank loans, and the revolving credit facility, the club's overdraft, reach maturity in 2027. In layman's terms, United either have to pay off the principal, £548 million in total, in its entirety or refinance, aka negotiate new terms with the lenders to spread the cost out over a new term length. With some of Man United's current loans maturing in 2027, there is a concern, warned Maguire. Global interest rates have increased since the loans were originally taken out, so there could be an additional interest burden. The Manchester United Supporters Trust, or MUST, recently published analysis that forecasts that United's interest payments could double after 2027. On a separate issue, says Maguire, the new stadium is in the process of being engineered and approved, then the club will have to borrow further from the market at a time of high interest. Long-term interest rates are around about 4.5%, and there could be a premium on top of that in terms of interbank. Old Trafford expansion or rebuild, United's debt salvation? It's not a good time to borrow, and that is far from ideal for Man United, explains Maguire. Certainly, United's interest costs could rise substantially and quickly. There's no doubt that the debt is the biggest problem facing the club, in my view. However, if they get additional revenue coming from the new stadium, you have to look at it on a net basis. If you're generating more money from the new Old Trafford project, you have to look at how much is coming in to see whether or not they will better off financially. Based on a crude pro rata calculation taking into account United's current matchday income and capacity, a 100,000-seater stadium would generate £183 million through the turnstiles annually. In reality, however, the final figure would be much higher due to plans to focus on the lucrative corporate hospitality sector, in stadium revenue maximization, and associate commercial benefits. Most experts UIF have spoken to think £250 million is a realistic estimate. Manuel Ugarte says he's enjoying on a personal level this season despite Man United's collective struggles. Manchester United midfielder Manuel Ugarte has insisted he is loving his time so far in England, despite the club's woes on the pitch. Ugarte joined United in the summer from Paris Saint-Germain in a deal worth around £42 million, which could rise to £50.5 million with performance-related add-ons. He has been a key player for the club this term, racking up 32 appearances across all competitions in that time. He recently opened his goal-scoring account for United after finding the equalizer in the 2-2 draw with Everton last month. Under Ruben Amorim especially, Ugarte's role and status in that team have improved, with the pair having previously worked together at Sporting CP. Meanwhile, United are currently languishing in 14th place in the Premier League table with just 33 points gained from a possible 81. Amorim has won only 5 top-flight games since taking over, losing 8. Ahead of United's Europa League clash with Real Sociedad, Ugarte spoke to El Espectador Deportes Convocados via ESPN Deportes and shed some light on his first season at Old Trafford. The Uruguayan was asked whether the current moment he is experiencing with the Red Devils is the best he has had since signing for them. He answered, "I don't know if it is the best moment, but I feel good, confident, and I am playing. I have more freedom to get into the box now. I am enjoying it on a personal level, although on a collective level it is not the best moment, but we have to keep working." He said about English football, "Any competition is very important here, it is lived much more. Every weekend, if you win you are up there and, if you lose, down there. The player has to learn to deal with that. This season has not been the best, we all know that. The focus has to be on Thursday, the Europa League is the competition. I'm not saying we are obliged to, but it would be nice to win it. We are all thinking about that match. On regularly lining up for a club of the size and stature of United, Ugarte remarked, "It is a dream because of the few Uruguayan players who have played in the Premier League and for United. When I was a kid I would wake up to watch the Premier League on TV. They are the most entertaining matches in the world and living it from the inside is an experience. I tell those who come to visit me that when they go to Old Trafford they will see that it is nothing like what they are used to. It is something unique, I don't know what it has, but it is very entertaining and that is why I think it is the best league in the world. It is impressive." On scoring his first goal for the 20-time English champions, the 23-year-old explained, "These are all memories that I will keep. It is about encouraging me to do these things. Sometimes I limit myself to just kicking or going forward, but this is a confirmation and gives me the confidence to try to score a goal in every game." Thanks for following us.